You're muted. You're muted.
That's good because I coughed. Good evening, everyone. It's 8 o'clock because those colonials across the pond have put their clocks back before us or forward before us. So it must mean it's the war room. I hope you're all doing well. As you can see, we have a guest apart from Nate and Jester turning up as usual. We've got Paul Hederer from living in Switzerland at the moment and is the designer of a brand new game from Vuca Sims, based on the 1914 Nach Paris game. Everything all right? Yeah? Oh, okay.
Stuttering a little bit.
Yeah, I don't know what it is. It must be the elastic band gone in my computer. So let's just get the comments up. Got a few.
One of these weeks, Ruff is gonna go to log into the war room, and his computer is gonna say, and he's gonna miss the show. And we're gonna be like, what happened to Ruff?
And watch, it'll be the week that he's hosting.
Yeah, and you'll be right up the creek without a paddle, won't you? But I hope everybody's doing well. We'll just say a quick hello to Nate and Jester and Paul. So, Nate, how you doing? Quickly.
Doing well. Life is good.
Good. Jester?
I am great. Thanks for having me. I'm so excited to talk with Paul and you guys. It's been a wonderful week. Let's get things rocking and rolling. Let's go.
No. Paul, see what I have to put up with. How are you doing, my friend? First time on the show?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Thank you very much for the opportunity to let me come and talk about my my game. I really appreciate it.
Which we will do. But first, let's just say hello to everybody. We've got about it's still early days. We've got about 20 odd in the chat at the moment. So, Squeaky, what Jeffrey, all the way down under.
This, I think last week, Ruff, that the next couple weekends is tournament time. It's going to be very spotty when we get people.
Right.
Like literally everyone is out watching the basketball games. So.
Oh, is it big over there? Yes.
Oh my gosh. It's every bar, every place is packed. You can't go out to get anything to eat.
Well, I won't feel so bad then. Charles?
So if your computer was going to die, then that's the time for it to happen.
Right. Let's hope it happens in the next couple of, because we don't go back until the 31st, which is Easter Monday. Oh. He's talking about football, I dare say, is he?
I believe that would be football.
Yeah. Christoph. Andrew, Mike. All the usuals are here. Thomas, John, welcome all. Welcome one, welcome all. I've got to just say something. I'm trying something out. We've had a few problems with the bots and things sometimes. So what I've done now, if you want to make a comment, if it's working, that is, you have to be subscribed to my channel. It's to stop the bots because they don't subscribe to anybody. So if you're new to the chat, new to the show, and you can't put up your comment, I'm afraid you've got to subscribe. You can unsubscribe. I don't condone that, but you have to subscribe, I think, before you can put
but if they do that, make sure that they need to hit that like button first before they unsubscribe.
Oh yes, they can do that at least, can't they? So
yeah.
We'll give them a reminder in a minute. We've got Larry from Hawaii.
Larry from Hawaii.
Gareth from my part of the world. Yeah, cheeky. Didn't get a notification. It's those colonials. They put their clocks forward too early. Kabul Commander.
Us rebels, I tell you.
David. Hope you're all doing good. So yes, mentioned about the comments. So yeah. So Paul, unless there's anything else you two want to talk about before we go into because I'm not sure if Paul's going to be staying just for the hour because he's got some family stuff going on early tomorrow, and he is an hour ahead of us. So
I'm more interested in hearing from Paul than me talking.
yeah. We always thought that, John.
Yes, we always were a little suspicious of you. That's for sure.
Well, we're not doing too bad. We're getting up to 30 people in the chat, so that's okay. That's good.
Yep.
So, Paul, I mean, we can always talk more about us personally if you decide to leave us. So we might as well get our money's worth out of you. So,
Okay.
and tell us all about yourself. Tell us about who you are, where you're from, and yeah, I know I told you, curveball number 1 coming up.
Yeah, nice. Well, I'm originally from the States. I grew up in Idaho. My father was in the Air Force and was at Mountain Home, and we just ended up staying there. I also joined the military, so I spent 22 years in the Air Force, and I was stationed in the UK.
We thank you for your service, sir.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, it was a great career. I really enjoyed it, and I spent some years at Mildenhall, so not too far.
Right. Yeah. Not a million miles away from me. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not too far. And also, I spent 4 years in Greece, and and a lot of years in Florida. Actually, I was in Fort Walton Beach. I was at Hurlburt in Air Force Special Operations. And after 22 years of Air Force duty, then I worked for the government for about 10 years. I was in Germany, and my wife and I, we both were living outside of Frankfurt, and we decided to try to come to Switzerland. We had some different job opportunities, and we kind of moved down this way about 8 years ago. I've been wargaming since I was 13 or 14. I actually bought my first war game at Walgreens, which was, this is back in the wonder days when you could actually find war games in the stores of a bookstore, on the shelves of a bookstore. No kidding. Even in Boise, Idaho. Which is pretty amazing. Yeah. And
what was your first one, Paul?
Tobruk.
Oh,
Tobruk.
Yeah, that's jumping in the deep end, isn't it? And I still have my copy, and I really learned how to play it when I was 13. I think I was a lot smarter then than I am now, to be honest. When I look at it now, it was quite a complex game. And I played with my brother and some friends in high school, and until I went in the service. And then I didn't play for a few years. I went to school. I went to university and studied. I also studied, that was cool. And I also studied history, Nate.
Very cool.
I did operational military history. I was lucky enough to study at the University of Liverpool, of all places. And ended up here. And I have my own company, and I'm teaching basically communications. And I'm also doing continuing adult education, like business communications and business classes. And we live right outside of Zurich. And
it's a beautiful country, Switzerland. I'll give you that. It's lovely. Yeah, beautiful.
It is beautiful. That's true. Yeah, if I look out the window of my office, I see the lake and the Alps, and it could be a lot worse.
Yes. Very nice.
Cool. That's cool. So what made you get into game design then?
Well, it's a good question. I've always been interested in the First World War. And it was something even as a child. I can't show you my room here, but there's all these World War I pictures here. And when I was young, I was really interested in World War I aviation. And then I kind of transitioned into, I was interested in the ground war a little bit. And I really was interested in Romania and this whole campaign. I had this great war in the East Quad as a boy. And it always made me wonder why it wasn't in there. I always kind of wondered about it.
I'm going to ask you about that. Yes, it's a very unusual subject. I'm going to ask you why you picked it in a minute. Yeah.
Granted, it is very esoteric, and I guess really the reason why I started trying to design was because I really wanted to see a game on the subject.
Yeah, just remind people, if you're in the chat and you're trying to type a comment, we're trying out this thing to stop the bots. You have to be subscribed to me, I'm afraid. It's a little bit all in it. But that's the thing on YouTube you can do. They have to be a subscriber to comment. And as soon as you do that, you're okay. But people are obviously subscribed, or it's not working. One of the two. I've got all these subscribers. Didn't know I had so many. But so it's probably not working.
I think it tells you if you go to post a comment.
Yeah,
I think it says you can only post comments if you're a subscriber to this channel. So, but yeah, it's good to remind everyone because it's
just
something
in case
new that
they
we're doing.
think, oh, is it? Well, that's unusual, Hissy. So can you just make sure that he's not telling Porky Pies and just hit the old like button for us, see if it's working? You know, only once, only do it once, and it's the thumbs up one. Although if you push the thumb down one, we still get the same content sort of coverage from the algorithm, evidently. But it'd be nice to have the thumbs up.
So, Paul, since you're interested in World War I aviation, I'm curious, have you ever gone to the U.S. Air Force Museum in Dayton at Wright-Patterson Air Force Base?
I haven't, and my apologies for that. I have to admit, so I spent 22 years in the Air Force, and I spent almost all of it overseas. And when
you would really enjoy the World War I section. It's just chock full. Very, very cool. Yeah,
I'm sure it would be awesome. I want to go there, and I really like to go to the old Rhinebeck as well and see these. I'm still really interested in aviation. I guess it's really my first love because of my profession and stuff as well. But yeah, I would love to go. If it would be
that's just my content that causes the problem. It's not the button itself, Ian. All right.
If you ever do make it come back to the States at some point, also there is now an official World War I museum in Kansas City, Missouri. It started as there's like a World War I memorial that was built there in the 1920s that a bunch of World War I generals from across the nations, including Ferdinand Foch, came to the dedication.
Wow.
And then it started as sort of a private museum, first a memorial, then there was a little museum, and they kept adding on and collecting and everything. And just a few years ago, it received the official nod from Congress as the official museum. I've been to it twice, and it's really cool because you walk in and there's a glass bridge that you're walking over to get to the desk to purchase a ticket, and beneath the glass bridge is a field of poppies, and each poppy represents I think it's like 1,000 or 10,000 kills, deaths in the war, and the place is just littered, and it's really somber, incredible when you walk in.
It's a frightening amount. Fallen in that war, they do
a really good job in that museum.
Is World War I, is that your favorite kind of gaming, sweet spot, or do you enjoy, what do you enjoy most about wargaming? Let's try that. Maybe that's a better question. Thanks.
Yeah.
I've only been doing this for 5 years. I'm still a rookie. So.
It's like me, a bit stuttery this evening. I don't know what's the matter with us. Yeah. Sorry, Paul.
It's a great question. No, as a matter of fact, I like different time periods very, very much. And I'm really into World War II, Eastern Front, and actually Western Front as well. I'm interested in tank games. I kind of started with Tobruk. Some Napoleonic as well. Sure. I think any well-designed game from any period, it could be American Revolutionary War, or it could be any period. I think as long as it's interesting and it's well-designed and fun. And to be honest, a lot of World War I subjects, or let's say not subjects, World War I battles probably wouldn't make the best games. because they could be very stagnant. And if you're looking at trench warfare, it might be interesting to look at the processes that were involved with trying to break through the stalemate. But I'm not sure it would make perhaps the best game.
I think that's what's not putting me off, but stopping me from enjoying World War One gaming is that trench mentality, But as I say, very much enjoyed Nach Paris because it's before that happened. There's the rush towards Paris, so it's more like a conventional sort of warfare going on. So I enjoyed that. But as I said, I was going to ask, if this is your first game, is it?
That's correct. Yeah.
So why 1916 Romanian Front? That nobody probably have got a game on. I don't know if there are any games on that. I can't recall any.
Der Weltkrieg has one. Der Weltkrieg has, I think it's part of a 2-game set. Has Romania. I think it's called the Romanian Gambit, if this is right. I played it once a long, long time ago, but I think it's the only game that deals with the subject. Well, it's very interesting. It's kind of at an interesting time in the war because you're getting into late 1916 and a lot of things are really changing. The Germans are reorganizing their army. You've got the Russians during the summer and let's say the beginning of the campaign are kind of at the peak of their power. They're quite strong as well. And then you have Romania that comes into the war. And what makes it really, really interesting is that you have this asymmetry of basically a 1914 army fighting against the veteran 1916 armies. And so for the players and from a historical viewpoint, it's very interesting to see how they had changed. And it was kind of the beginning of a lot of mechanization. So the title actually comes from a book by Michael Barrett called Romania 1916 Prelude to Blitzkrieg. And he kind of makes the point of a lot of the lessons that they learned that were later developed in the interwar period came out of this campaign. And I don't know if you guys are familiar with Andrea Bussati. He's also
I've heard the name.
Yeah, he's a World War I designer as well. He's made some really, really fine games, and his specialty is the Italian front. And he and I are friends, and we like to joke that Romania was kind of, how would I say, the practice for what happened at Caporetto later. And it's interesting that a lot of the German units that actually participated in Caporetto participated in this campaign as well. There were some of the...
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
That's interesting. And you said the mechanical started. Is that when the tanks first started to come in, 1916, about that time?
There weren't, there were tanks on the Western Front, of course, and even the Russians got some tanks through, we wouldn't call it Lend-Lease. I think that's one war or two later, but yeah, they got some from the British and they had some there as well. But this is more referring to motorized transport, let's say.
Rather than horses and things and carts and whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Okay. I did not.
I should look forward to that. I've got it here. See, I've got them. I've got Paths of Glory, Pursuit of Glory, Nach Paris. So I've got a couple of games. It's just I'll have to do some reading.
I know the World War I games that I have that, like for instance, When Eagles Fight has a part of Romania in it. That Romania can join the war at some point in the game. Most of what I've seen of Romania being included is kind of within the broader context of the war, like fatal alliances or things like that. It's the whole shebang.
Yeah, they'd sort of mentioned as in being included in that,
right?
Rather than focusing down. So it might be interesting. So yes, how far away is this game? I know that's a sort of how long's a piece of string question, but
what we're shooting for, what I would hope for, is that maybe we can get the testing done this year and try to submit it next year, and then the rest is kind of up to Patrick. I won't speak for him. He and I talk quite often, but it depends on what's in the queue, what comes in before. But I would hope, my hope would be maybe in 2026, maybe 2025. But we'd have to see. It's a ways along. I mean,
So your perspective, it's a lot of it's already done. It's now just all the sort of business thing and production thing and all that malarkey.
well, we're still testing. So I really want to make sure that what comes out is something worth playing. And I really want to make sure that the campaign, and this is tough. I think any campaign game is really tough. It sometimes they can really go off the rails pretty easily. And unless you really test a lot and see what happens, in turn 40 or turn 50, you don't know what really could happen in the end. I like the sandbox. I like the idea that people can change history, but what I really want to make sure is that we're putting the right, how would I say, the right aspects, the right influences in there, that the players can learn a little bit about the history and change it if they can, but also learn why things happened the way that they did.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
What really draws me to the game is a lot of World War I games that I've played tends to, like I said earlier, on the strategic level, we're dealing with either army sizes or corps, whereas this is an operational level game with a lot of divisions. And so it seems that, from at least looking at the map and the units, it seems that there is a lot more space to maneuver and really trying to attack in the way that you want, as opposed to, like, I've seen some games where Romania is 3 hexes big.
Yeah, it's really true. One of the things when we first started testing, so one thing I haven't really said is that I've been working on this for almost 10 years. But I've been working full time, and at that time I was still working for the government. I didn't have a lot of time, and so we've tested it in a couple of different iterations already. And one of the things we really noticed is I think there's a lot more of the Balkan Wars than there is of the First World War. I can I can share this with you.
Yeah. By the way, before we do that, what's the name of the game? Because they want to know.
Yeah, it's 1916, I believe. I don't think we've quite settled for sure, but it's 1916 Prelude to Blitzkrieg.
Right.
And I will we can, because we keep talking about the map, it might help.
Squeaky's got a question there, but I don't know. What do you reckon?
No, it's not. And that's I would say that's kind of one of the interesting points, is that I'll tell you what we'll do. I'll put this one up first.
Right, this is where I get it all wrong and cut the stream off, but here we go.
Yeah, we can see. Yeah, I don't know if is it clear enough to see?
I could see it. It looks fine to me.
Okay, yeah, I think it's just the way that it works. It looks a little different. Okay, so asking about it being one-sided, we'll talk a little bit about this, and maybe this will help explain that. So the blue arrows are these 4 Romanian armies that initially launched an offensive into Transylvania. Actually, I guess I can show you here. You can see my cursor over here into Transylvania. The idea was to seize this area here and then advance on to Budapest. Mm-hmm. So the Romanians were quite ambitious, you could say. One of the things that kind of went wrong with their plan was that von Mackensen, the really great German field marshal, was down in Bulgaria. They sent him up north to take over the Third Army, the Bulgarian Third Army. And they launched an offensive into Romania down here on about the 3rd or 4th day of the war, which caught the Romanians really flat-footed. And so they kind of panicked because they imagined that they were going to come across the Danube and advance on Bucharest here. So they pulled a lot of their troops out of this area while they were still advancing. They sent about 4 or 5 divisions to the south down here to try to protect this area. Meanwhile, you had a very strong Russian army up here. This is the Russian 9th Army. This is kind of the last bit of this is the southern part of the Brusilov offensive. So this 9th Army was very, very successful during the summer of 1916. Then they kind of got stalled up in the mountains here in the Carpathians. but they're very, very, very strong. And then you have the Austro-Hungarians in here, very, very weak, with a lot of Germans coming in to support them, and Germans down here as well. But exactly as you said, Nate, there is huge open running here. It's more like the Balkan Wars than World War I. When you start the game and you're the Bulgarians down here, you kind of look at this massive area here, and this is your whole army. You've got about maybe 15 counters down here, and you think, my God, how am I ever going to take that?
And this is a good representation of the type of map we'll be getting?
Yeah, that's the actual map. That's it.
Oh,
That's the game map. I just I took it out of Vassal today, and I just put the arrows on there. I could, if it's better, I can show you one without the arrows. I don't know if it matters.
No, that's a good. No, that explains it. That's better. Yeah.
What are
I'm
the?
just wondering. So, didn't they realize that when they were attacking Transylvania, there's a bunch of vampires there?
Well, we actually have.
Didn't they realize this?
We actually have a Dracula counter that I made for the developer. Lionel Martinez is the developer. He lives in Paris, and he's a really funny guy. And we kind of agreed that we have to have a Dracula leader counter. So
there you go.
There we go.
It should be.
Hey, it's all about marketing. And I told him we should have called it Rommel versus Dracula, but Patrick wouldn't hear anything of it. You know, he wasn't buying that.
No, you'd incur the wrath of the old grognards if you did that. They'd be going, "Oh, it's not a serious war game then."
Yeah.
So what are the what are sort of the first how many players for this game, and then how are the sides divvied up amongst them?
Well, you could easily play with two, and one thing that we're really trying to do is we want to make a lot of small scenarios. This we want to follow Bertrand's example with Nach Paris, and the feedback on these really small scenarios with even a map that's like about A4, people were really enthusiastic about. So there'll be a lot of 2-player scenarios you can play. For the campaign game, that's a very, very interesting question. I would say you could play with one as the Bulgarians and the southern forces here, because the Germans eventually build up pretty strong down here as well with von Mackensen. The Romanians, you could play one in the north and one in the south, because the Romanian Third Army is really big. It's down here along this whole area. And you've got quite strong Russian forces down here too. This is the Russian Expeditionary Force, the little green guys there. So I would say that would make 4 or 3. And then a Russian player could play this up here. And if you really wanted to play with 5, then you would play the Ninth Army. This is von Falkenhayn against Mackensen, because they were both actually very, very competitive, and they had a race to see who could get to Bucharest first. And actually, Mackensen ordered Falkenhayn to let him go in first, but actually some of his bicycle units went into Bucharest before he did. So it would be kind of a fun thing to maybe have a victory point thing where you could say only one of the Germans win, and maybe it's the first one to get to Bucharest.
Well, when we played Nach Paris, we all took a little bit of each sort of army and did it. And I put up Cardboard Commander's cleaned up question because he put the wrong word and then put something else. Oh, hold on. That's they are. Where is it? Sorry, Cardboard. That's there we are.
Aha. Okay. Yeah, it's more of a you go, I go system. It really follows Nach Paris. We are making some changes to kind of show how things have developed in 1916, and also the theater's a little bit different. For example, on the map we have roads, which Bertrand didn't have, but because there's so few roads, we needed them there to kind of show how it would go. But yes, I would say what's interesting about Nach Paris, and if you guys have played it, is that when I first looked at it, I said, my God, look at this. It looks so complicated, because I looked through the rules and I saw the rail rules and everything else.
Those are the things that did me in. I couldn't get my head round them rail rules. Everybody else was going, we're talking about rough. It's easy. I couldn't get my head round them.
Yeah, it looks complex, but when you start playing, it's basically a game of moving and fighting, which generally makes a pretty good war game. And I was really surprised at how easy it played, and it does. There's a lot of things added on. There's a lot of details that Bertrand has really. I mean, his game is a work of passion as well, and I believe he also worked on it for almost 10 years.
Yes.
Yeah, and you can see the love that he put into that with all the detail. And when you look at it, it looks intimidating. I think it does. But when you start playing it, again, you realize it's basically about moving and fighting, which is the fun parts of playing war games.
The only thing that put me off with Nach Paris is the detail, is the use of acronyms that of French, like instead of saying this is the 5th or the 1st Division infantry, it's a Première Division, and have a little abbreviation which you had to look up at the back to see what it was. Reminded me of Dune, the book Dune. We had to look up all the words. That was the only thing. But when you get into it, you get used to it. But that was the only thing. This detail of calling, even in the rules, giving them their French name was a little bit.
Well, the game was originally done in French, and I think you can see some elements of that. And I don't mean that as a criticism.
No. You get round it. It's just
It's there. So, but for me, I've done almost everything in Bulgarian, so it'll be easier for you. It'll be
good, lovely. Yeah. I did put Ian's up, but Vuca do it. Yeah, and I'm with you there. The little nubs, Patrick, if you're listening, the little nubs on the side. Oh, OCD.
I'm curious because someone asked a question about, is the game more one-sided? Because the Romanians eventually lost. What sort of in the playtesting so far, what's sort of the, if you have an idea, sort of the win-loss ratio that you're seeing so far?
Yeah, well, we have not gotten through a whole campaign yet, but I can tell you what happened in the early parts of the campaign. The Romanians are generally doing better than they did historically.
Right. And just to quickly answer Hissy's thing, I think it's as solo friendly as Nach Paris. You're playing both sides.
Absolutely. Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So they've done a little bit better than they've done historically, and sometimes much better. In fact, that's one of the things we're kind of looking at right now. One of the things that happened is what we talked about when they came in from the south, Bulgarians, and they took this fortress it's called Turtakaya, which they kind of called the Verdun on the Danube. And they had imagined that this would hold out, and it fell within 2 days. The Bulgarians just basically stormed it. And they took some pretty massive casualties. They took about 5,000 casualties to take it. But when it fell, they just kind of panicked. And what they did is they started sending troops from the north to the south. So then they sent them to the south. And when they got there, then things started going bad in the north, and then they turned them around and sent them back north again. So about 4 divisions, which would have been about they had 23 divisions altogether. 4 of their divisions spent almost 2 weeks in rail cars going back and forth. And if you're playing and you're not forced to do that, you can do a lot better than they did historically. They were very cautious, and we're building a mission system that basically you give armies orders. You basically it's like hold, advance, retreat, and flexible. And it can be that the army commander disobeys you and does something different than what you order. It's based on a die roll. And one of the things with the Romanians that we have to consider is whether they need to be slowed down a bit. They had a big army. They had 23 divisions. And one thing I think people kind of, I hate to say fail to realize, but that the Central Powers sent 43 divisions to defeat them. There were 43 divisions. There's over 100 divisions on the map by the end of the game. And some of the divisions that ended up coming here were absolute. The Alpen Corps was here, the 200th Division was here, the 117th Division were here, which were all spearhead divisions from Caporetto.
There you go, Paul. Your passion is spilling over to the peanut gallery.
Well,
yes, Yeah, when I was a PhD student, passion was coded language for talking too much.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
This is the problem when you have a designer on that's passionate about their thing. You have to sort of hold them back and go, all right, let's stop there and we'll have to ask you another question.
Oh, that's my problem. I'm not a PhD student right now.
Hold on. If the chat's got any questions, put them in, because we're not sure how long Paul's staying, but so far.
What I would like to ask is, I know you talked about having some smaller scenarios.
Mhm.
Obviously, we have a big campaign to deal with, which is going to be multiple turns. So the smaller scenarios, are we looking at like 10 to 20 turns? What are we looking at? Just so I can ballpark time.
Shorter. I think there needs to be some that are shorter, and some of the battles for like the Carpathian passes later in October and November can be quite short. I mean, I think you're talking 4 or 5 turns.
Okay.
No, they need to be short.
And obviously much smaller counter density as well. Are we looking at, you don't even know this probably because Patrick, I don't know if he's even got to this point. Are we talking one map? Are we talking 2 maps? What are we looking at?
Are you looking at these sort of things like in Nach Paris?
Yeah, exactly.
These are the small, that's how big it is.
Yep. Amazing, isn't it?
It's great. And there's loads of them.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing is, I thought it was like a sort of programmed learning thing where you learn some rules and then play the scenario. No, you still have to learn the full rules, but you don't have to get everything out the box and play, this small part of the main campaign or this small part of the main campaign. There's loads of these in Nach Paris. So you're doing that. That's fantastic.
Yeah, we really are. We've already got 3 designed because also for us in testing, it's making it easier. And because it's a big area, I'm trying to remember. I think that the play area is about 43,000 square kilometers. It's a huge front, which if you look at it, you kind of realize it if you look on the map of the Eastern Front. Sorry, but it is a huge area. It is a massive area.
Have you got any more pictures?
What's the strategy behind this whole thing? Why did they jump in the fight, first of all? And then what was their strategy? What were they trying to do? Were they trying to impress another country? Obviously, I don't think they wanted to take over territory. Is that what was their goal? What were they trying to do?
Well, they joined on the tail end of the Brusilov offensive. They were kind of given an ultimatum by the Allies. They basically told them it's either now or never. And because that 9th Russian army was approaching through the area up in the north is called Bukovina, and this area and coming into Transylvania, they said, okay, this is the time to join. And what they wanted was Transylvania. They wanted to reclaim the Romanians that were there. And if you look at any post-war map of Romania, I think Romania, I may be wrong, but I think Romania gained percentage-wise the most territory of any country that participated in the war. I think it almost doubled in size, if that's right. I mean, you basically had this weird shape, in 1914, 1916, and then it became it's still almost the same now, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So what made you design this game using the Nach Paris system rather than designing your own? I know Patrick, for instance, at Vuca likes his series, got Aachen and Bug River, and now the Traces of War is being turned into a series. Was that the rationale? Was you asked to design the game on that sort of system, or did you think it would be wonderful to use that system?
That's a really good question. It's a really good question. So, as I said, I've been working on it for about 10 years, and I had tried some different systems. I had worked on it for quite some time. And Patrick and I had a conversation last summer, and we kind of started talking about, would it be possible to do this with the Nach Paris system? And at first I was skeptical, and nothing against the Nach Paris, but I just didn't know it that well. I had seen it. I had a friend, a local gamer here, had played it, and he was raving about it. He said it was great. So I thought I would give it a try, and I liked what I saw. And then Lionel Martinez had been interested in the game for many years, and we kind of started talking, and we kind of paired up. We made a quick scenario. We played it, and I was really, really impressed at how well it played. I really liked it. I like the CRT. There's some really unique aspects. This idea that you can roll yourself off of the odds column is something and maybe one of you have seen it. I've never seen that in another game.
No, I've not. No, and it's a very unusual CRT as well. It's unique, isn't it? So far, that type of CRT. It's I think it's very clever.
Yeah, well, he's an engineer, and he's smarter than I am, because when I looked at the CRT, it took me a while to figure it out. And when you start realizing the way he's done it, that he made the terrain, they're all DRMs, and it's fascinating how, like I said, like you get a bad roll, you can roll yourself right off of the odds column. So.
Because normally it's if you throw more than this, you that's it. You don't go any further, or any less. You don't go any less. Yeah. So
yeah, exactly. And when you get the hang of the DRMs and everything, then the game plays really fast. And it gives a lot of flexibility. You can show such variations of the terrain and, let's say, morale, and I can put up actually some.
Oh, right. I'll tell you what, you know, the map you put up, if you stop sharing that, your end, and then share something else, that's it. Lovely.
All right. Thanks. Yeah, I didn't know how to.
No, that's fine. No.
Okay. So share screen. Let me, here we go. Okay. And hopefully you can see that.
Yeah, very similar. Yeah.
Yeah,
Romanian, Russian, German, Austro-Hungary, Bulgaria, and Turkish, all in that one little area. That's part of the interesting thing, is you have all these interweaving relationships between all these different countries going
and
on
cultures
at the same time.
cultures as well as countries.
Yeah.
You know, it's very interesting.
Yeah, that's a really good point as well, because one of the things that happened when the Russians came down to fight was the Germans were worried, and nobody knew what would happen between the Bulgarians and the Russians, because traditionally the Russians had been allies to the Bulgarians. And so there's a lot going on here that's very interesting. Of course, then you've got the Ottomans fighting on the same side as the Bulgarians. And so it's a fascinating deal. Yeah.
That's cool. Yeah, and you've kept them. They do look the same, don't they? They're very similar to.
Yeah, they're slightly different. Some of it is aesthetics, in that being the age that I am, bigger numbers are better, and so I tried to optimize the numbers. And you've got the steps over here. Of course, this is the same exactly as Bertrand's game. This is basically your combat factor down here. The middle one is artillery. Green means it's got mountain artillery here. Movement is on the bottom right-hand side.
Crazy 50, yeah, crazy.
Yeah. And this is heavy artillery, and it fires at different targets different ways. We've streamlined the artillery segment quite a lot because we don't have all the forts. So that allowed us to basically get rid of 4 pages of rules. So we're only using it more, and it's field combat. It's really
because you had in Nach Paris, you had the ones on the tracks that you had to take off the tracks, and they could move or fire, and it was a little bit sort of involved. Yeah,
I will tell you, I'm very excited to play with the Austro-Hungarians, because obviously, so the Germans get a lot of light in World War I, because they fought a lot and everywhere, but the Austro-Hungarians were also an important part, and especially like right at this time in late 1916, they start to fall apart. Kind of the Brusilov offensive starts that first domino where the empire begins to crack, and the Germans begin to take more control of the Austro-Hungarian hierarchy.
Yeah,
And
that's exactly right.
so I'm interested I'm interested to play as the Austro-Hungarians to see how that will work and everything.
Yeah, they've got some. So the cab, the rating for basically a quality rating here is the white number, and this kind of gives you an idea. The left hand letter is the unit rating, and the right hand is basically its proficiency, if you want to say that. So as you can see, this Austrian unit here, it's quite strong. It's a Hungarian division. But it's a B-rated unit, which is quite good. But its cab rating, its efficiency rating is only 12. That's only really about one step above a Romanian division, because some of these, exactly as you said, Nate, a lot of these divisions had really been beat up during the Brussels offensive.
Yeah, as you see that the Russian unit next door has got a 15 cab and is the same, is a B, the same as the Hungarian. So yeah, that sort of shows you the quality of the troops at that time in the battle. Yeah, they've been through a lot.
Yeah, exactly. And part of it, that's interesting you say that, because coming up with the kind of an idea with this proficiency, we took all these different elements. Bertrand was really, really gracious with his information. And one of the first things he did when I approached him was he shared all of his spreadsheets. I mean, we're literally thousands of pieces of information.
Wow.
And
yeah.
So I wanted to look at it and try to figure out what were the elements involved in this. And it's interesting you say that, but the veterancy or the amount of experience that the units had is definitely one part that makes up the cast.
Yeah, a couple of questions here. Paul, you did say that map was going to be Nach Paris looking. Is that right?
So should I share the plain map? Would you like to see it? Because
yeah, we'll have a look at that. And the other thing is, from Ian, counter size. Is it the same as Nach Paris? Because
exactly the same, except
old eyes. So there we go. And look who's in. Tweez is in. Watch your matey.
Hey, Blue. Hey, Blue.
All right, let me. I will share the map with you, because I do believe that the map will be as it is here. It's a little bit of a different style, but we also have different. It's different terrain.
Yeah, and you just it works. And if you stop sharing, it will get rid of it without you getting kicked as well. So
yeah. I've been waiting for me to hit the wrong button.
No, that's cool.
Yeah, I really like that map.
Yeah, it's good. It looks like a map.
Yeah, we had to change some things because the mountains are quite a bit more complex. And in Western France, or sorry, I beg your pardon, Eastern France, I mean, you have the Vosges Mountains, but there's nothing that compares with what you've got here. And as I said, we've added the roads. There's different types of railroads, but the rail rules really will be different. That is something that I really wanted to streamline. And by the way, so if players don't want to play with the rail rules, I'm going to make it optional that you can just receive the reinforcements where they showed up historically, and you don't have to rail anybody unless you want to do it inter-theater.
And the other thing is that it's different. If I remember right, the aircraft. There's no aircraft in Nach Paris, of course. So
yeah, there's no aircraft counters. They're included in the headquarters. We've included them because the use of them are a little bit more robust at this time of the.
Something Crouch asking, what's the Recce Air unit?
Yeah, what does its function? Let's say, yeah, it's for. So we're going to have a robust fog of war, and some of that Bertrand's already got in his system. Some of it we're going to add, so it'll be used to unmask units that are hidden or that are concealed. It's also going to be. There's also going to be an artillery spotting function because. One or two of the German squadrons down there were specifically artillery spotting units.
Yeah, and the thing is, this fog of war, which was in Nach Paris, if you're playing solo, of course, you don't use it.
Correct.
Now, Paul, I know you said that you got some play testers and you're working on this project. we have a huge community of guys, and if anyone's interested in becoming a playtester, are you looking for people? A, are you looking for people? And B, if you are looking, how do they get in contact with you so that they can let you know that they'd be interested in playtest?
Yeah, I think we're looking for at least one more team. We've got a team in the UK. A gentleman named Jim Falkus is going to head up a team of 4 guys there. We've got a local team here in Switzerland, which is 3 or 4 guys, depending on travel. And we have a team in France. We have 4 guys. And then there's a team in the US that would like to play, and that's headed up by actually by David Bolt, who is a designer from a little bit further back with his games. He did Home Before the Leaves Fall and the Cossacks Are Coming. And he is very, very interested in the campaign and kind of said, hey, we'd like to do it as well. But yes, I think we still are looking for some players. We're not in general play testing yet. Lionel and I are looking at elements that we've changed, and we want to get them stabilized before we go out to the general audience. But I would say maybe contact, well, I don't want to say contact Patrick because I don't want to put him on that.
No, I'll tell you what to do, Paul. You've got my email. If you want, you can go onto our Tack Up. I don't know if you're on Facebook. You are on Facebook, aren't you?
Yeah, of course.
Go onto our Tack Up Facebook page. And when you're ready for people to play test, you post on there. You'll get too many to deal with. I tell you, they're great. Our community is great. So if somebody could put up the Tack Up thing for Paul.
Yeah, somebody can put a link in there for Paul.
Sure.
That'd be great. I can do it.
And a question
Go ahead, just have
from
Facebook up.
Tweez. He's always asking awkward questions, but if you want to ignore it, ignore it. But
No, those are great questions.
I know
he knows a lot about the campaign.
he knows a lot about World War One.
Yeah, there are. That's exactly. It's a really good point, and there will be what I call the Russian commitment system or mechanism. It needs to be in there because the Russians didn't actively support the Romanians until almost November, and it really hurt the whole campaign. One of the really interesting what ifs for the campaign will be is allow the Russians to attack from the beginning. So that'll come through the commitment thing. And then we're also looking at maybe, we talked about the missions for the different armies, and we may just make their mission hold automatically until they actually commit. But I want to see, we don't want to lock the players into everything being historic. And something we talked about on Board Game Geek is there will be 2 ways to play the game. You can play the game with all the optional rules and see why things happened, or you can play without them and see what could have happened, I guess is the best way to put it. Yeah, no, that's a great question.
I'm curious.
Smarty pants.
Have obviously I know this isn't released yet, and it'll be some time before it is. Have you is this something that you just want to just do Romania and one and done, or are you looking to take this to other theaters of World War One or different wars?
Or different wars, yes.
Yeah.
That was going to be my question. Yeah, good one, Nate. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it would work really well for the Russo-Japanese War. Somebody would have to come up with a naval component, I guess, or maybe you could do it like the old, is it GDW that made, they made a land game and a sea game separately, and then you could put them together. I think as far as campaigns go, I think the Brusilov Offensive would be really interesting. That's another undergamed subject or under-designed subject. And actually, one of the playtesters, Nicolas Michon, is always coming up all the time about doing the German 1918 offensives. He thinks would be very good as well. That's also a time of movement and an interesting campaign.
Well, that's funny you should mention that, because something happened today. When I do my history thing, the German offensive started. So, it was on today. So we'll be talking about that later on. Anything else apart from World War One? Are you thinking of doing?
Since this is prelude to Blitzkrieg, you can do that.
World War II is a subject I'm really interested in, but I'm definitely not an expert in. And
I tell you what we do need, Paul, is another Eastern Front game. They're a bit thin on the ground.
Well, I was thinking Battle of the Bulge. I was thinking of doing Battle of the Bulge.
Oh,
But,
There's this little battle in Normandy. I don't know if you've ever heard of this
Yeah,
place.
there's not many of them games about though.
yeah. But the research in this has been one of the most time-consuming things, and I really want to give a shout out to people who have helped me. There's a gamer in Russia who has helped me with some different materials. There's a couple people in Romania that have helped me. There's a couple people in Bulgaria who have helped me as well. And I would say to go into a whole nother war might be a bridge too far for me, because I'm not a World War II expert by any means. And I think there's people who could do a better job of designing it than I could. I'll put it that way.
Fair enough, but stick to what you know. That's the best thing. Yeah,
sure.
Yeah, Ian's saying Nach Gallipoli. Stick another Barbie, stick another shrimpy on the Barbie.
Is there another game you could do in this section of the world, or a different time?
You mean exactly this map? Or
well, I mean, around the same area. I mean, you've obviously spent 10 years researching and developing and blah blah blah. You don't have another 10 years to dedicate to a Battle of the Bulge game, right? So I mean, you've already done the 10 years. Could you just find out a little bit more information and carry that on with a different part of what's going on in this conflict?
That's a really good question. And that would lend itself to the Brussels offensive, which happened just right before this. And it's also fascinating.
See, now we're talking. Yeah, there we go.
Yeah, somebody asked me if I would be interested in doing a Tannenberg game. Yeah, there you go. A Tannenberg game, but I had said maybe as a no, because there have been so many games done on it. It's really been done a lot.
What is your kind of recommendation? So obviously we're talking a year, maybe 2 years before this game might be out. So obviously people might be interested. What game could you recommend that's maybe World War I that might give them a flavor of what this is gonna be like, just so they can kind of relate to it? Is there a game out there that maybe you could say, play this game because it's got X, Y, and Z? Obviously, we got Nach Paris, but is there anything else besides that out there that you could say, try this game? It's pretty good.
Yeah, absolutely. Any game by Mike Resch. Any game by Mike Resch. The 1914 series. If people want to look at the Eastern Front, there's Twilight in the East. It's unfortunately been out of print for a while. It's a little tough to pick up a copy. His Serbian game takes place right to the left of the map, if you want to look at it that way. And then, of course, he's got his OAO game of 1914. But his operational games are really, really good. And
they're quite complex, though, aren't they?
Yeah, they are. They are. And I was also going to mention, Andrea. We talked about Andrea Brusati. He's done quite a few games. His scales are sometimes a little bit different, but his games are really good, like Straf Expedition. If you want to see something in 1916 on the Italian front, is really a good game. Really a good game.
Do you tend to like to stay in sort of just the land combat in World War I, or does like naval, like Jutland or something like that? Does that ever interest you at all?
Yeah, I'm not very good at naval games. I've tried to play them and I always lose really badly, starting from the Battleship days, playing against my brother. But I played some air games. I played Richthofen's War when I was really young, really, really young, and I liked it. And I played I don't know if you guys remember that, it was called Ace of Aces, the Rotary series, where you had the books.
Yeah, my father bought that, and we never got around to playing because, of course, it's a 2-player game because each one has a book, and that just blew me away. Yeah,
that's still, I can remember getting thrown out of the library more than once because I was playing it with a friend in the library, and
a bit noisy.
Yeah.
Now there's Western Front Ace that came out just recently.
Yeah, it looks really good. I've seen the pictures on BGG. It looks fantastic.
And they're reprinting Aces of Aces.
Yeah, I saw that too.
Yeah.
Isn't that amazing?
Yeah.
That's a throwback. But that is a great system, and it's really, I just remember it being really fun. It's really cool that, turn to page 72 and then you look and, I got shot down. It was great.
Yeah, well, we'll be doing that soon, John. Don't worry. But we're just making the most. Are you staying, Paul, for a bit?
I can stay a while if you would like me
As
to.
long as you want. As long as you want. No, yep, you're more than welcome. Do you want to do some of our bits and then come back if Paul's still here to get the last minute questions?
I would suggest we wait until after he leaves to do that.
Okay.
He's just going to be sitting here for 10 minutes twiddling his thumbs. But
yeah.
Is there
why don't we do this? Why don't we just say, if anyone else has any questions for Paul, do it now. We'll give everyone a couple more minutes, and then we can let Paul go. There's no sense in him sitting here for half an hour doing nothing. So
that's fair enough. Right. As you heard, any questions?
There is one from Nordic about the Mesopotamia campaign.
Yeah, I think that would also be very interesting. I'm not sure about with the scale. I'd have to think about it a little bit, but maybe also some of the stuff that happened in Sinai and the later 1917-18 campaign. And someone had mentioned the Russian Civil War. I mean, the Russian Civil War is really, really a big subject, but maybe it might work for some of the individual campaigns.
I was thinking too, since a lot of the map for this game for Romania is mountains, of course, is the Caucasus front.
Yeah, that's something I don't think anybody's ever done. I think it would be, and I think maybe he doesn't want me to say this, but I will say it. I think Andrea is thinking about a subject on the Italian front as well, using the same system.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
War Games of a Series, we've talked about this here on our show many times. War Games of a Series, it's so much easier to learn once you know the first game.
Yeah.
Next game comes out, it's easier. I mean, obviously there's changes to the rules and additions and things that are taken out, but you have a good base already going in.
Yeah, I think Patrick's cottoned onto that. He's starting to think, maybe people like series games, like Archon. I think that was a successful series, Boog, and that. So using the same sort of, but each time implementing and adding stuff. So Archon is very different is a little different to Boog. But do you have an option, as Tweez says, Dr. Tweez, PhD?
Yeah. Not yet. Not yet. That would be really hard to design, I think, because you would be extrapolating so much about what could have happened and what didn't happen.
Well, if you do your Brusilov game, then you could have them connect.
Yeah, that's what we're talking about.
And then we're talking about putting the maps on the floor again, aren't we?
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. But one thing that you said that really struck home with me, you said about having an established system, and I just wanted to kind of give a hat tip to some of the initial play testers we have here. I'm really, really lucky that Lionel was very involved with Bertrand's development of his system, and Nicolas Blanchard, who made our Vassal module, was also involved. Nicolas Michon was also one of his top playtesters as well, and Bertrand Laurie. So you can tell I have a heavy French contingent here in Belgium, but I'm really, really lucky that I've got some guys that were with Bertrand and worked through, and their knowledge of the system is fantastic. And Bertrand has also helped us out. He kind of is working on his own projects right now, so he's really, really busy. But he's always been very positive and very helpful as well. And I couldn't ask for more.
Question for any other games
it's
you
very
play?
important to tell you the truth. We've had many designers on. We've talked to them all. And the ones that say that their game is successful isn't because of them. It's because of the people that help them. And so for you calling those people out and saying, kind of acknowledging that gives me great hope that this project will have great success.
Well, they've all got really good ideas. So
yeah, and that's the problem, isn't it? They see things you don't, and problems and also suggestions. Have you played any other World War One games? The Standard Combat Series, for instance.
yeah, I played. I think it's Drive on Paris is one. Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I played it. It was interesting. It was. I think it models World War II really well. I'm not sure how well it models World War One.
No, I played World War II SCS, but not World War One. So again, I wouldn't know.
I'm curious. Have you played the only other World War One game that I can think of that's on the division level scale is the Great War in Europe. From it used to be a Command magazine, and then GMT put it together with the Great War in the Near East in a deluxe edition. I think like 2007, something like that. I was curious if you ever played that.
I have not. Okay.
I just finished playing it myself this week.
Yeah, and somebody pointed out that the one game came up and went down really fast did cover the Caucasus campaign, but I still think it would be interesting. It would be interesting to look at it. Sure.
Are there any aspects you'd have liked to include that you didn't fit the system? Ian asks.
Well, we're not done, so right now everything's fitting. Lionel's pretty good at saying, "Okay, no, that's too much. That needs to go." But right now, I would say no. There isn't anything. Actually, as I've said, we really cut a lot. Because of the unique situation that Bertrand was facing on the Western Front with all these fortifications, we were able to get rid of all of that. And again, I think the first thing we did was cut 6 pages of rules. And then when looking at the rail rules, I think his rail rules are brilliant, but I think maybe they're they're tough for people to access, I would say.
Yeah, I can vouch for that, so.
Yeah. But so it's been more a matter of cutting things than adding, to be honest.
Good.
Yeah, and I know Nordic hasn't got Nach Paris, so.
Yeah, okay. So, no, it's a really good question. Each hex is 10 kilometers, exactly the same as Nach Paris. Each turn is 2 days. The units vary from divisions down to some of them are regiments. Some are regiments. They're known as weak units or small units. And because of the low density of the units on this front, we were required to show some of them.
All right. And I think there's Tweez. I think he's just showing off. I haven't got a clue what he's talking about.
He is.
Well, there's a von Mackensen leader counter for sure, but I didn't choose the one with his fancy hat. No,
because they put the French in Nach Paris in their fancy uniform, so they got shot at quicker because they could be seen from a distance.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I mean the Romanians were really, really unlucky if you want to look at that. In that they had Mackensen in the south, was really arguably one of the better commanders of the war, and they've had von Falkenhayn in the north, who had just got fired as the chief of staff and really had something to prove, and by all accounts ran an absolutely brilliant campaign, and so they were really up against a pretty tough A team, really.
So Nordic likes that, different unit sizes. Any other questions for Paul?
Well, Paul, seriousness, silliness aside, we do appreciate you coming out and hanging out and talking with us and giving us the info. We like to have a good time here, but we also are serious, and we want to find out this information and pass it on to people so that they can put this on the radar. So thanks so much for coming out.
Yeah, thanks for doing it at short notice as well, Paul, because I only contacted you at the beginning of the week, I think, and
it went very fast. Thank you so much. You made it very easy for me to come, and I really enjoyed it.
And what we'll do as things progress, in the future, you've got some updates. Come back on the show and tell us about them. Some more pictures, some more info. See how it's going. Asking for play testers from our group, that sort of thing. You're more than welcome, sir.
It would be a pleasure anytime.
Yeah, you got Ruff's email. Just email us and say, hey. It's been 6 months and we've got some more info to talk about. We'd love to have you back.
Just talking with you has made me a heck of a lot more excited to play this when it comes out.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I didn't even know about this game until Ruff talked about it and emailed me this week. And I was like doing some research, looking at it, and I was like, well, okay, I got Nach Paris. I could maybe get this other one. But after talking with you, I'm like, let's go. Set it up. Let's go.
Yeah, I mean, it's such an unusual subject that, you know, grab it while you can, peeps, because there aren't many on that subject.
Yeah, and if anybody's interested, just really quickly, there's 2 really good books on the subject. The one is the Prelude to Blitzkrieg book by Barrett, and the other is by a guy named Glenn Torrey, who I call Mr. Romania in World War I. He basically made his whole academic career writing about it, and it's called The Romanian Battlefront in World War I. And both of them have been published within, I think, the last 10 years, and they're both excellent. They're both really, really good. You can get them on Amazon. They're on Kindle, no problem.
There you go. There you go. I think you've gone down well. Yeah, we've said this because you were late, Tweez.
Yeah, Tweez, get here in time and you won't ask dumb questions.
Give me the second book again. I'm adding that to my Amazon wish list right now.
It's Glenn Torrey. I think it's the Romanian Battlefront in First World War. Yeah, and it's excellent as well. Both of them. I mean, it's kind of amazing because you said it's a lesser done subject, but what's so strange is that a lot has been written about it.
That's weird, isn't it?
It is,
written, but not gaming wise.
But I think it's because it's such a fascinating subject. You know, exactly as you pointed out, Jester, you've got 6 different primary nationalities all fighting together. It's a perfect example of coalition warfare. And
right, because you have that. I mean, sure, there's armies and stuff going on, but you also have the politics of, you know, hey, join our side. No, you join our side, you know, and well, I don't like you, but yes, I like you. But wait a minute, what are you going to do for me while I do this? Yeah, you got
was this period during World War I where people could see what was coming in the wind and people have aligned to certain people because they could see what was happening? They were hedging their bets, so to speak.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the Romanians especially did that, but they paid a heavy price. I mean, their country was basically overrun. And then when the Russians surrendered in 1917, their army had to surrender as well.
Yeah.
And then they rebuilt it and fought again in 1918. It's quite a fascinating subject. The Romanians as well. Yeah.
So to answer Tweez's question, were you reckon in 2025, 26?
Correct. That's right. I hope so. Yeah.
So what? There we go. Reminds him of Lebanon. Yeah. So thank you, Paul.
Yeah, thank you very much, guys. I really enjoyed meeting all of you.
Yeah, thank you.
Brilliant.
Thank you.
You made it so easy for me too. Thank you. I was pretty nervous before we started, to tell you the truth.
No, it's only us nonsense people here. We're not serious.
That's why
we do serious, but we're not
we
serious.
try to have a good time, because when people are having a good time, they relax a little bit. So,
and we had, we've got 45 at the moment. We nearly reached 50, even though the basketball's going on. So there you go. That's due to you.
Got probably 20 million views on this right now. So, I mean, calm down, everyone. Let's just...
Yeah, I know, but you'd rather get it ready. Yeah. I'd like it out next week, but, so everybody's enjoyed it. So
right,
again,
guys.
Thank you, Paul. Thank
you.
Keep in contact with, you and Patrick. I dare say Patrick will let me know if there's anything new, or yourself, just email me. We'll have a chat with the guys and see, in the future, get you back on for updates and things.
Thank you. I would be more than happy. And I wish you all a good night and a happy Easter coming up soon.
And to you, sir.
You too.
Thank you once again.
All right. Bye-bye, guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks.
What a great guest.
What a great guy. He's a really, I mean, it's funny. A lot of designers, when you get them on, they show their passion for what they're doing. And man, it's just infectious. It makes you want to play it. It makes you want to find out. I had no desire, zero, to talk about Romania in World War I. But after talking with him for an hour, I am like pumped. Let's
bring it on. Same with me. It's piquing my interest a bit more, because it's not mainstream German and the Allies. It's this sideboard thing that's going on.
And for me, I was so impressed and excited about how much of the research that he did to make this really good. And I can tell that he is being as faithful as he can to the real conflict. And
Again, another 10-year project.
More.
Yeah.
Another
That's why I was
10-year
asking about, if there's another game you can do with the knowledge you've learned in 10 years, because I mean, these games, we talked to Herman and everything. Herman's game takes 6 to 8 years from, design, development, testing to production. It takes at least minimum 4 to 5 years. So
people don't realize, it's a long old slog. Otherwise, you'd get a piece of rubbish out, wouldn't you? You'd put something out and would be shot down minutes when it was released. But yeah, I do like.
I'm glad that Vuca's doing this, because Vuca's got great components, great quality. They're going to make sure it's done, in excellent fashion. So I'm very happy that Vuca's.
I'm very happy
on board with this,
because when I got involved with them, nobody had heard of them, and it's only in the last sort of year or so,
they've taken off.
that they've just gone bonkers. And it's I wish them all well, because they sound really nice. Well, they are a really nice group of people, and as Paul said, nice to work with. So brilliant.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, should we do our bits?
Yes, we should. Let's do our bits.
It's 5:20.
I know it's pretty. Let me look at this and share and
Who's going first?
doesn't matter, because we've got the window up.
Look at that. First of all, what do you guys think in the chat of our new logos? We are trying to mainstream here. Nate is trying to organize us. Thank you, Nate.
I thought that was a load of cigars on your
We asked Tony to do this for 12 years and he wouldn't do it. So Nate did it in 2 weeks. So yes, it can be done. What do you guys think of our new logos? Huh? I love them. I think they're awesome.
I think they're cool. Yeah.
I think mine's kind of out of place compared to Rough Remembers, and Nate's notes are all
We've
fancy.
got sort of
got
nice oldie-worldy
something a little
historic.
more fancy now. It just Nate, why? Why did you do me like that? That's not cool.
Let me put it this way.
Look,
That was
see what I have to put up with.
best I could get.
Look at it. Look, I have to put up with. I thought they were cigars as well, Ian. Yeah.
I like them. I think they're good.
Like yeah,
like I said, mine. When you compare mine with your two, I don't know.
Yeah, everybody likes them.
A tank swirling about on a maelstrom.
All right. Who wants to go first? Nate, you want to go first today?
Sure, I don't mind doing that.
Right.
So I know I mentioned to you all behind before we started the show, but to everyone else, I said I was reading this book last week, and I finished it this week, and it's amazing. Really, really like it. Even though it's short, 230 some pages, something like that. Really, really good read. But I thought that I would go to a different subject entirely, and that is I have been thinking about, after I get off my World War I kick that I've been on for the last few weeks, that I would move to the American Civil War. And one of the books that I got a few years ago and have really, really loved it. It's a big book, but it's well worth the read. It is this: A World on Fire, Britain's Crucial Role in the American Civil War. And I love the cover as well. But it is a thick book. We're talking at least 800 pages. So, but it is well worth the read, because it's fascinating when you look through the history in the American Civil War, that both Britain and France, they're not necessarily, like, historians don't necessarily think that Britain and France was going to actually militarily get involved in the war. But there was a real concern that the British and the French were going to recognize the Confederacy as an independent power. And Lincoln was trying to prevent that at all costs.
Yes, I think remembering, yes, we were thinking, oh, we could do business, all the cotton, everything,
Correct.
you know, that's what we need for our mills. Yes.
Right. And the Confederacy kind of shot themselves in the foot at the beginning of the war when they kind of cut off the cotton trade to Britain, thinking that would pull the British in. Instead, the British just went to India and grabbed more cotton out of there.
Yes.
But you find out one of the fascinating things in this book is you find out that is a lot of people think that Gettysburg is the kind of high watermark of the Confederacy. It's the turning point of the war. And you really find out, as this book, as well as a lot of other books, is that it's not Gettysburg. It's actually the Battle of Antietam or Sharpsburg in 1862. Because at the beginning of the war, whether or not we want to, if you want to go into the debate about was the war over slavery or not, that's not the point. The interesting thing is at the beginning of the war, a lot of the way that the Union and the president and Lincoln was saying that they wanted to preserve the Union, but that was causing a problem for Lincoln, in that the British and the French had thought about and had begun discussions on whether or not to recognize the South. And so even though they had freed their slaves, they were still thinking about getting involved and asking for arbitration between the North and the South. And Lincoln was trying to prevent that. And you find out in the book that there's a meeting between the British and the French governments that if the South was able to secure some type of military victory in the North, and they could show that they could actually win militarily, that they would then jump in diplomatically. And Lincoln was really trying to prevent that. So, and Antietam, even though it was more or less a draw, even though the South pulled out and went back across the Potomac, that gave Lincoln enough of a sort of a win that he issued the Emancipation Proclamation. And at that point, now it looked like if the British and the French jumped in, now they're jumping in with a power who still holds slaves, even though they just freed their slaves. So now there's a moral component to the diplomacy, and the British and the French decided, we're out. We're not getting involved. It won't look good for us. And so that's really at that point where the South loses any type of ability to get the world to recognize them. And it's in this book. So this is a great book for anybody who's interested in that.
Nice.
Very, very good.
Beautiful.
I just need a nice book on the Idiot's Guide, Beginner's Guide to the American Civil War, because you've got lots of books that once you know that, you've got, like, that book is a specialist book about that part. So yes,
I got one for you, Ruff.
Have you?
Yeah, but I don't want to take up any more time.
Oh, all right then.
Next week. He's got every week. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Maybe a beginner's book on 2 or 3 different subjects, like World War I, American Civil War, Revolutionary War. I don't know, something like that, for people who know little or nothing about.
I can do that.
Yeah, that would be good for me. I'm being a bit selfish, but I'll leave it with you. But no,
I used to have books on my shelf, and they got replaced with more games. So
yeah, me too.
Ruff, I got pictures of Ruff when me and Ruff first started. He had nothing but books on new shelves.
Well, I can guarantee this is not getting replaced.
We'll see. Let's see how long you stick around. Let's see.
Yeah.
All right, Ruff, do you want me to go next, or you want to go next?
What's that?
Do you want to go next, or you want
let me do mine. Then we can humiliate ourselves with your one. Yeah,
absolutely. Go ahead.
So what have we got? Oh, we've got quite a bit. We got 23rd of March, of course, today. Starts back in 1568. The Peace of Longjumeau is signed, ending the second phase of the French Wars of Religion. What are they, you ask, Ruff? Well, I'll tell you quickly. The French Wars of Religion were a series of civil wars between French Catholics and Protestants, called the Huguenots from 1562 to 1598. Between 2 and 4 million people died from violence, famine, or disease directly caused by this conflict, and it severely damaged the power of the French monarchy. And a lot of the Huguenots made their way over here. They had skills that we took advantage of. And a lot of the surnames over here you can trace back to the Huguenots of the 16th century. And then 1775, American Revolutionary War, Patrick Henry delivers his speech, "Give me liberty or give me death," to the Second Virginia Convention at St. John's Episcopal Church in Richmond, Virginia. And Henry is credited with having swung the balance in convincing the convention to pass a resolution delivering Virginian troops for the Revolutionary War. Among the delegates to the convention were future United States Presidents Thomas Jefferson and George Washington. So I think today we had this thing, and then next month I think the war officially started. So that was an important speech. And then 1821, the Greek War of Independence. The battle and fall of the city of Kalamata. Kalamata was the first city to be liberated as the Greeks rose in the Greek War of Independence. Today, in 1821, it was taken over by the Greek revolutionary forces under the command of generals, and I'm going to butcher these, so forgive me, Theodoros Kolokotronis, Petros Mavron Michalis, and Papaphalasius. However, in 1825, the invading Ottoman officer Ibrahim Pasha destroyed the city. So this Greek War of Independence was a successful war of independence by Greek revolutionaries against the Ottoman Empire between today, which is when this battle started, and 1829. In 1826, the Greeks were assisted by the British Empire, the Kingdom of France, and the Russian Empire, while the Ottomans were aided by their North African vassals, particularly the Ayilettes of Egypt. The war led to the formation of modern Greece, which would be expanded to its modern size in later years. The revolution is celebrated by Greeks around the world as Independence Day on the 25th of March, a couple of days time every year. Whizzing across to 1862 and the American Civil War, the First Battle of Kernstown, Virginia, marks the start of Stonewall Jackson's Valley Campaign. Although a Confederate defeat, the engagement distracts federal efforts to capture Richmond and can be played with the Revolutionary Games Kernstown. It has them both. It has the first Kernstown today and the second Kernstown, which happened a couple of years later in July. Great looking game. Battle of Kernstown, not too expensive in the folio. That's my advert over. And then we whiz forward to 1918, the First World War, and Paul and yourselves were talking about it. The third day of the German Spring Offensive. The 10th Battalion of the Royal West Kent Regiment is annihilated, with many of the men becoming prisoners of war. This Operation Michael, or Unter Nahemen Michael, was a major German military offensive during the First World War that began the German Spring Offensive a couple of days ago on the 21st of March. It was launched from the Hindenburg Line in the vicinity of Saint-Quentin, France. Its goal was to break through the Allied lines and advance in a northwesterly direction to seize the Channel ports, which supplied the British Expeditionary Force, and to drive the BEF into the sea. 2 days later, General Erich Ludendorff, the chief of the German General Staff, adjusted his plans and pushed for an offensive due west along the whole of the British front north of the River Somme. This was designed to first separate the French and British armies before continuing with the original concept of pushing the BEF into the sea. The offensive ended at Villiers-Bretonneux on the east of the Allied Communications Centre at Amiens, where the Allies managed to halt the German advance. The German army had suffered many casualties and was unable to maintain supplies to the advancing troops. Whiz forward, 1933. Not a lot happened on this day during the Second World War, so a bit sparse. But in 33, the Reichstag passes the Enabling Act of 1933, making old Adolf Hitler dictator of Germany. I can't say the words. They'll be demonetized, will be shut down. That painter made him dictator of Germany. And then we're going to finish with an airplane thing. Let me see if I can get it up, so to speak. Ooh, misses. So I'm going to just stop sharing this for a bit. We'll put it back up in a minute. I just want to share this one, if I can present, because it's a cracking looking plane. Look at that. It's not very big, I know. I'm sorry. Apologies. But this is the Chengdu J-10. This is the first flight today of that plane. The Chengdu J-10 Vigorous Dragon. So it's a Chinese plane. What a name they called it. The Vigorous Dragon. NATO called it the Firebird. Is a medium-weight, single-engine, multi-role combat aircraft capable of all-weather operations, configured with a delta wing and a canard design. That little wing at the front there, weird-looking thing, with fly-by-wire flight controls, and produced by the Chengdu Aircraft Corporation for the People's Liberation Army Air Force, the People's Liberation Army Naval Air Force, and the Pakistan Air Force. The J-10 is mainly designed for air-to-air combat, but can also perform strike missions. It's still in service. It was introduced in 2005, and as of 2022, over 600 of these planes were produced. But I thought it was a cracking-looking plane, so I thought I put it. Wish I got a better picture, but there we go. So that's what happened today. Let me get that thing back up. So we can do it there. Bonkers, right? There we are.
Okay.
That's a J-10, yes.
Like that is the best picture you could come up with. Like in 5 seconds, I found.
I know. Well, the thing is, you see, no, you're going to talk over me. You're not going to talk over me. I just got it, and I thought, well, that looks okay. And then when I put it up, that's the first time I saw how big it was. Show me your one.
Go ahead. Here you go.
You've got it. Have you?
Yeah, please.
Here we go.
Hold on.
Let me share my screen with you.
If you're searching on Google, you can hit large for images.
Yeah. Okay. Take the piss out of rough. I don't care.
Here you go. It's shared.
Yeah, it's about as big.
How long did that take me? Like 5 seconds.
That's as big as mine.
That's because I got a 38-inch monitor, man. That's not even full screen. Look at that. And it's color. I don't. Yours is like black and white.
Oh, for God's sake! I won't bother next time.
I'm just saying, if you're going to show a picture, try to come up with the picture
What,
from 1990 or past.
Yeah. Whatever. There's another picture which just freaks me out. Let me see if I can get it up, so to speak. I must stop saying that. I know what I mean. Isn't that weird? Doesn't that make your head go, no?
That is weird. Yes. What kind of dice is that?
Yeah.
That's even bigger than your plane.
Yeah, I know.
Dice in the plane.
I know.
Those dice are meant for the trash can.
Those are terrible. Yeah. Oh, I've got to always be careful about the size of my Chengdu. Yes, you have.
Yeah. So
that was just so wrong.
Yes.
So what? Oh, okay. I was wondering to see what part are we on? I forget because I don't have the logos in front of me.
Yes. All right. Are we ready? Are you boys ready?
To be humiliated again? Absolutely.
To be humiliated
again. Of course.
Oh, by the way,
my goal is to humiliate you. Of course.
Now, before you humiliate us, if you haven't done so already, we've got 40-odd people watching. If you could push that old like button for us, that would be great, because I think it's a bit squeaky still, a bit sticky. So that'd be wonderful. Right, off you go, Jester.
All right,
You ready?
Nate, go ahead. You did the logos. You get first guess today.
Well, I appreciate that. I mean, I'll do the obvious one since today we were talking about World War One. Is this game set during World War One?
No, that would be way too obvious, way too easy.
I kind of figured, but I thought, well, I might as well ask.
Yeah, I got to throw a curveball in there every once in a while.
Sure, you're all using that term now that I invented. Right. Is it set during the Second World War?
Yes, it is set during the Second World War, as a matter of fact.
Is it set on the Eastern Front of World War II?
No, it's not set on the Eastern Front.
Okay.
Is it a European theatre of war, the ETO?
Yes, technically, I guess, yes.
It does include North Africa and the Middle East. The ETO does include those, just in case you were curious.
Yeah, we've had this discussion before.
Mm-hmm.
So I should have said Western Front then.
No, then that's a different theater.
I know, but if you'd have said no, then well,
that's true. Okay, is this set in? I'll do the wider one, the Mediterranean theater. That includes the Mediterranean, North Africa, and the Middle East.
Yes.
Okay.
Is it a GMT game?
No.
Was this game published in the
we're going-
21st century?
In the 21st century.
What, 2000 plus?
2000 to 2024.
No.
He's picked a bloody old one that I've never heard of again.
I bet it was. I wonder if it was the one that Paul played. It was Tobruk.
Is it a North African?
Yes, it is.
He already asked that, and
Yeah.
yes.
Oh, sorry,
he already
yes,
asked
North
that.
Africa. Is it Tobruk?
No, it's not. But that's what inspired me to look and for
Ah,
something similar.
Is
We were
it?
talking with him like, oh, I got to get my game ready. I should use Tobruk. And then I said, no, that's too obvious. Nate's too smart. He's going to say, oh, it's probably Tobruk and guess it right off the bat. So I said, that's how smart. Nate's not that smart. He's only been here a couple weeks. He's not that smart.
Well, thanks. Thanks for that vote of confidence. Is it the African campaign?
No. I mean, is that a title? Is that no?
The name of the game from John Edwards.
No.
Okay.
No.
Ooh, Ruff, you should ask whether or not you own it.
do I own this?
No.
So it's not.
I don't believe you do. I don't believe you do.
All right.
I mean, if you do, you've never talked about it.
No,
And I
true.
don't
To be fair,
see it
and
there
it's also had a shot as well. So
Was this game published by Avalon Hill?
No.
is this published by? I was going to say MMP, but
I'll give you a hint, right? So there was two things that were mentioned while we were talking with Paul, and
yeah.
two things that were mentioned that I said, oh, boom, I got my game for later. One was North Africa, Tobruk. The other thing was mentioned, and I said, yeah.
Right. Is this published by the Gamers, later MMP? No.
No.
Published by SPI?
No.
Because I was thinking SCS, because that was mentioned, and that's the Gamers, and I was thinking of Africa.
Okay.
Is it published by? Well, now I'm very. I don't know many of those games.
GDW.
Yeah, is it published by GDW?
Since I don't know what GW is, no.
Games Design Workshop,
Oh, no.
not SPI.
Is this game more focused on the land war
Yes.
or the air
Yes.
war?
No, yes. It's going to be the land war.
Okay.
So tank thing.
Because I know Paul mentioned about air, so I thought I'd ask just in case.
Yeah. And we said Avalon Press, yeah. Avalon Hill, rather.
Yeah, we have.
Not published by MMP. Not published by the gamers. Not published by GDW, AH.
What about 3W?
Does this game? Well, it would do. I would think. It depends. No, because he's in all the games, isn't he? Mr. R, General R. Yeah, the thing is with that Tweez, that's now been remade into something else, isn't it?
What about what Nordic says? Because Tony played that a lot. Still does, I think.
Oh, he does. He loves that. Is it? Yes. Is this part of the ATS system?
No, it's not part of the Advanced Tobruk system. No.
Right.
It was a good guess because of the Tobruk lead-in, which you guys
yeah.
should have thought of that a long time ago.
Oh, yeah.
Is this game primarily set on the whole theater of North Africa or one specific area? Oh, I should ask this in a different way. Is this game set on the entirety of the theater? Yes. Okay. So from Elahela to Alexandria.
So DAC is blooming MMP, isn't it?
Yes. It could be. Well, no, that was.
I mean, it is focused on the campaign. It might not include from the very beginning to the very, very end, but it's focused on the campaign.
Did we ask if it was GMT?
Yes, we did, and it was no.
All right.
It wasn't SPI, so it can't be the campaign for North Africa.
No. Which Ardy has just got a copy of.
Yeah.
The Fall.
I don't know if we're going to get it.
No, because it's an obscure, maybe.
It's not an obscure game. I've definitely have heard of this.
Yeah, it's not.
We've talked about it on the channel several times.
It doesn't mean.
It's one of the most popular games in the North African campaign. It has got one of the most recognized titles in all of North African campaigns. So if you've played any game in North Africa, you probably have heard of this game. It is like the number one campaign game.
No, it's not MMP. Is this a company that is no longer with us, a game company?
No, I believe they're still around as far as I know.
Right, okay.
I think they're still around.
Was Compass making games in the before 2000?
No.
Behave yourself, Thomas.
Field Commander Rommel.
It wouldn't be that. That's just one part.
That's your favorite game, right?
It's actually a good game. It's good fun, but yeah, just
I've never played any of them.
It's not a hard game. It's a good game.
Is it Rommel in North Africa? The War in the Desert, 1941 to 42. What extra squeaky says?
That doesn't roll off the tongue like it's one of the most well-known.
Yeah, no, that's not the most recognized title in North African campaign games in the history of mankind. No,
I mean the most recognized Africa games that I know were, at least in the day, were published by Avalon Hill, and this is not Avalon Hill.
MMP Africa. You've got
Right.
Black. You've got De Broek. You've got what's the one? Was not Avalon Hill anyway, is it? So
you guys are making me very, very sad. I thought you guys were smart at this game. Come on now. The whole part of Jester's Jeopardy isn't about things. It's about taking the big picture and chopping it up into big.
yeah, well, we've done that. We
pieces,
just can't. We've done
right?
that. We know where it is, when it is. We don't know the company. That's the thing that's getting us. It's not the MMP. It's not
Right.
GMP. It's not
Estimate
Avalon
is
Hill.
a decision game.
Yeah, you have it. Yes, to Compass, Decision. There's like 20.
Yeah, but I don't think Compass made
Vuca,
games.
you haven't even mentioned Vuca, which would be
I
interesting.
don't
if it was
think
a Vuca
they made
game.
games before 2000. So, decision, is it a decision game?
No, it's not a
No,
decision game.
they didn't make anyway.
I don't know what publisher.
It's already been mentioned in the chat twice that I've seen so far, and not one of you guys have said, "Oh, hang on a second."
Is
It's
this
been
a
mentioned twice by two different people. Two
Well,
different people had
We
mentioned
try
this
not
game.
to look.
No, make it three now. Three different people have
Is this
mentioned
published
game.
by Avalanche Press?
No.
The other
It's
one was
not published by
3W.
Avalanche
Ask that,
Press.
Ruff.
Is it Africa?
No, it's not Africa.
Is it published by 3W?
No, it's not published by 3W.
Okay,
It's not-
well,
It's not Compass, is it?
It's been mentioned 3 times in the chat so far. Three
Compass-
different people.
Compass didn't
3
exist in the
people have
90s
talked about this game,
before
and
2000.
you've completely ignored them every time. 3 different people.
Oh, is it Africa Core?
No. It's now
Compass-
been mentioned 4 times.
Is this Columbia Games game?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, I've
Columbia game.
never played it. Yeah, it's
Never
Rumble
played
in the Desert. Columbia Games ain't on my radar, I'm afraid, because they're
Have you
block-
heard of this
block.
game, Ruff?
no,
I'm not a
Never
block
heard of
game
Rumble in the
person.
Desert.
not a block gamer.
Have
Have you heard of the game?
No.
Rumble in the Desert. You've never
No,
heard of
because
it.
it's Columbia
We've talked
Games.
about it on this channel several times. We've talked
we?
about
I
Rumble in
must
the
have been
Desert.
asleep or reading a book. Sorry.
Yeah, it was when you pull up the newspaper.
Yeah, or they get the book off when I used to have books.
Yeah. Now you just
No.
have rules.
No,
like literally 10 minutes ago, Nordic had mentioned Rumble in the Desert. I'm like, oh, they're going to get this like right off the bat.
no, we
because-
don't do Columbia Games. They're block games. They
I wouldn't call it one of the most popular.
no.
Like you mentioned.
You know, it may be a good game,
Uh,
but it's
That's
block.
good. Well, that's a good game.
I would think, right? Maybe it's not for you and Ruff. It's not the popular, but I would think if 4 people in our chat had mentioned it in the chat, it's not one of these obscure games that nobody's ever heard of.
But I haven't heard of it because I don't follow
I can't
Columbia
believe
Games.
you've never heard. We've talked about Rommel and your problem with Rommel, and that's
Yeah,
why.
but not, of course,
when we talked
Rumble.
about
I know,
Rumble
yeah, but
earlier.
not this Columbia Games. They do good games if you're into those sort of games. I'm just not into those sort of games. So their titles bypass me.
Yep. For me, I see a block game. I'm like, no thanks.
That's just not for me. The only
Yep.
one I play is Commands and Colors because it's not a block game. It's
I'm
just
going to keep
standing up.
guessing
Okay.
block games because last week you guys had problems. Do you remember what game it was last week?
Another block game.
It was a block game
Yeah,
last week.
see,
too.
don't pick a block game. If you want to
I'm
make
gonna
us
keep
look
picking
idiot,
them until you guys learn your block games. That's it.
no.
Well, I was too busy making logos to learn block games, so I have a reason.
Yeah, Ruff, what's your excuse?
I'm too busy painting models.
Ooh, very nice.
For
You want to paint mine?
yeah, I mean, I tell you what. If you don't like painting games, I've just got hold of these. How do we get? Let's stop. Oh, I can't stop sharing that. What's happened there? You stop the share. Now we've been humiliated.
Thoroughly.
That's my job, and I'm doing a good job of it. I tell
Yeah,
you.
you are.
Maybe I should ask Jester obscure history questions.
Yeah, and say, oh, don't you know that? Everybody
Yeah,
knows that.
everybody knows that. If you were in my classroom, you would know it.
African.
Well, once we get all this crap off, Ian, I'll show you. It's a little weenie mini from Nemesis. Oh, and if you, yeah. What's he doing?
I'm looking something up. That's what I'm doing.
Taking you an age, whatever it is.
What are you doing?
Are
Wait,
you trying
to
to
show you
find a
something.
list of like the top North Africa games?
Somebody said there was a list of the top North African games, so I was looking to see if I could find it.
Yeah, you might as well ask me this, Jester.
Jackson, of course. Everyone knows it was Jackson.
I don't, because I don't follow that sort of thing.
I can't believe you guys have never ever heard of this game. That just blows my mind. It's
Well,
like
there you go.
you know when I mentioned Ticket to Ride, the game that sold 10 million copies. You and Tony were like, Ticket to Ride, never heard of that. What's
Of
that?
course not, because it's just not on our radar. These are the paints I'm using.
Those are nice.
They're called speed paints, and
Yeah.
you just coat one coat and it's done. It
I
doesn't. It doesn't.
love to get into minis, but man, it would take so much time and
I mean,
money.
this is a little mini from. I can't see, it's so small, and it's a bit of a one color thing, but it's all that shading and all that. It's just done, and the highlighting is just done by putting one coat of that paint on. So I did half a dozen in about 20 minutes. The only problem is the preparing of it, because you have to spray them black and then dry brush grey heavily over it, keeping out the recesses, and then very lightly dry brush white. And those three tones will pick out the tones when you put the speed paint on. That's the thing that takes the time, but you just slap the stuff on and it's done. Also, I did get this in at last.
Oh, same here.
Yeah, me too. Where's mine? Where's
And
mine?
And the mounted map.
Same here.
Got to have the mounted map.
I'm really
I ordered the mounted map, and I ordered
Black, grey, and
the
white.
new,
Black, then grey, then white.
the Great War Commander and the expansion for that and everything. And then they emailed me and said, we don't have any more mounted maps for Frank 40. Sorry, buddy.
wow.
Yeah, that's nice.
I was really tempted. I didn't get it, but I was really tempted by Rebel Fury.
Yeah, I cancelled that in the end because I've got my American Civil War game, which is the Great Battle of the American Civil War.
Yeah,
I didn't want to go down another rabbit hole. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
That's the only reason.
I might end up caving and getting it. It looks really good.
Well, the other thing is, I've got to have some stuff to buy in the GMT sale.
True.
Yeah, you gotta have something. Yeah. Well, that was fun. That's 2 weeks in a row that I got you. You guys are gonna have to spend some time studying this.
Another block game from Colombia. You have to you get us again. You know?
I'm doing block game after block game after block game till you get one. That's all there is to it.
Oh, God. All right. Oh, because it's nearly time. That's gone very quick today. Very quick.
Very.
What's happening Friday, Jester? Good Friday.
Friday is Good Friday, and it was so good that me and Ruff and Tony are getting together to play. And let me show you what it is we're playing because I've got it right here. Vaja Hajagara.
Yeah, Gachinachinara, yes.
VJ Ananagara is how I believe it's pronounced. VJ Ananagara.
Yeah, it's something like that. Yeah.
Yeah. So we're going to be playing this because it's a three-player game. And,
three-player game. So
yeah, and I'm off and Tony's off, and it's going to be at 2:00 Eastern time.
Is it 2:00? Couldn't remember the time. Right.
Yeah.
So that's
2:00 this Friday. Yes, sir.
5 hours, right?
No, 4 hours still, because we don't put our clocks forward until
because it's almost 6 here now. So what time is it over there?
10.
So 4 hours. Okay.
Yeah.
So that means 6 o'clock your time now.
6 p.m. Yeah, Friday.
So looking forward to trying that, and I haven't even looked at it yet, so I don't know.
Yeah, next week we're going to be trying and getting that out and reading the rules and all that sort of thing, ready for Friday. Hopefully that will work out. Oh, just remembered, Washington's War and For the People. I think
if you're off on Friday, Good Friday, a lot of people are in the U.S. If you're off, come on by 2:00. I think it's going to be on my channel, or is it on Tony's channel? We haven't decided.
No,
I would guess probably my channel, but it might be on Tony's channel. Nate, what do you got coming up? Anything? Are you gonna do anything with your channel or anything?
For the board game bunker, we are looking to start making videos again. We put a pause because my friend is finishing up his room, so that should hopefully be finished soon. But we have some ideas for other videos that we want to put out.
I like the Euro Wargamer.
Yeah. Our funny enough, our
different perspectives and.
Our best video so far is my friend Ryan made of how to play Dutch Blitz in less than 10 minutes. And it has like 12,000 views. And it's really well put together as a nice thumbnail. And anyone that's interested in wanting to know how to play Dutch Blitz, they just go on and watch that video. But
what is Dutch Blitz?
It's an American game.
There you go. You see, if you'd have picked that, I'd have been, what the heck are you talking about? You know.
It's a little card game. It's like a party game.
Right. So we've got them. You've got cribbage, and that sort of thing. So,
right, Rob, why don't you point to the game on your shelf that I should pick for next week? So I
still get it wrong.
You have it. I got to make sure you have it.
Yeah,
and you play it.
Yeah, I'll still get it wrong.
No, you won't. You'll do fine.
He'll pick Nach Paris next week.
I'm putting it on. I bet you if I put it as the Shadow of Brimstone expansion, you would be able to get it.
Maybe not, because I'll be thinking war game, rather than Ameritrash.
Watch, Jester's going to pick like one of the obscure expansions to Dominion. There's like 12 expansions, right?
There's 15.
I can't believe I can't believe you didn't get this, one of the best known games in the whole of the universe. Yeah, no.
Hey, I can't help it. You guys need to, spend a little time studying and learning some stuff.
Well, when you own an entire game store, it's worth.
We're talking about board games. Board games on this channel. You should know some war games and you should know some board games. If you don't know those two, we need to find other people.
Maybe we could switch it round and I would do Ruff's Jeopardy and pick a game that you would not have heard of, a war game.
I've
Oh,
heard
no,
of
that means
every
you're gonna make
game
another
out
logo.
there because
A
I'm
war
a
game,
board
a
gamer
war
and I
game
know
that I
everything.
guarantee you wouldn't have heard of. And
Name one. Name one that I've never heard of. Name one.
Name any Jaquinto war game.
Actually, I do know one that Jester didn't know, and it was a game that I showed last week, Imperium Romanum.
Yeah, that's not a war game.
Excuse
That's a
me,
road
yeah.
game. That's a
I've
war
heard of it.
game. Yes, I've
It's
heard
the
of
most
it.
famous
I've
Roman
heard
war
of it.
game ever.
I've heard of it. We gotta go, guys. It's already past 6, so thank you.
Yeah. So all I can say is, peeps, thank you so much for joining us in the chat. We had a great guest with Paul Hederer there, the designer of the next game in the Nach Paris series, if you like. Hope you enjoyed our ramblings for the last 40 minutes after that, and rows and things. So thanks for joining us.
We got a lot more downvotes in the last 40 minutes than the first hour.
I'm not surprised. Yeah, I'm not surprised. Not really surprised. But it all helps. So, Jester, I just ask what you've got coming up. Anything quickly?
Just Friday.
Friday.
Besides that, nothing is scheduled. So I'm
Okay.
completely open.
Right. So that gives you lots of time to learn Vaya Nagara and to teach me. You can do a tweeze on me, can't you? But don't do the you should have done this before, like he does.
Ruff, when is your Stalingrad Z videos?
Sorry?
When is your Stalingrad
game? Well, as I said, I haven't done any videos this week. The missus has been working from home all week. And as you probably know, this is not a separate room. This is at the other end of our lounge, our living room. So she's talking, having meetings and all that sort of, and I can't do any videoing. So hopefully she's out and kick her out next week. So I can get on with some Z stuff because I want to get out of the way because there's millions of other stuff I want to do. But I might finish off the painting as well because I'm quite enjoying that. It's a nice break from videoing. But yeah, that's my plan for next week is to start the old Z. Got it there. It's a book. Doesn't take up a lot of room. So that's what I'm hoping.
You could get a new computer too, since
Well, I could do
get on that, Ruff.
I can do that. Do a Kickstarter.
I'm going to send him my old one. I think I still think it'd be worth it.
Yeah, I think I should do a Kickstarter. I think
we'll set up a GoFundMe page for you.
Yeah, go find me. That's the one. Yeah, go find me.
There you go.
I'll do a load of pictures like this, looking a bit sad, and sort of like.
Or get a picture of like when your face is stuttering on the screen there. Then
do you want to put up with this? So yeah, we'll see. One day. But anyway, thanks everyone. We've got to go. It's past the 2 hours, and
that's our 2 hour limit.
It's supper time for some peeps. So we'll see you all, and it's on your channel next week, Jester.
My channel next week. That's right.
We'll see you all then.
Square.
Yeah. So as always, we love you all. There's nothing you can do about it. So we'll see you soon. Bye.